it was not like all sunshine and rainbows. Maybe I said that already, but and I felt bad for not being sunshine and rainbows. I wanted that, but that wasn't my reality. And there's a lot of bitterness there when you go on social media and you see these happy families and the woman with her smiling at her belly with their partner, and that wasn't my reality. And so I did feel quite bad about that for a while, but I just kind of got past it, and I realized that I need to create that happiness for myself. Hello, my name is Christa. I am 27-year-old, and I'm a mother to a 3-year-old baby girl, and I work in marketing. So when I found out I was pregnant, it was, I think on like a Friday afternoon. I had been feeling ill and asked for time off work to go check up myself. I really thought that I was sick because, I was feeling feverish and whatnot. And yeah, and turns out it wasn't an illness. I was actually pregnant. First, it was disbelief and shock, because there was just absolutely no way that at 23 I'm pregnant, and in the circumstances that I was in, because I was not together with the father. So at first it wasn't really something that I wanted to move forward with, or yeah. So I kind of like took it, day by day. First, I had to take some time to like digest the information. First of all, like the doctor was like super presumptuous, like congratulations. And then when he saw that I wasn't, it wasn't necessarily great news for me, he was like, oh, sorry. And he just tried to like counsel me into, make the right choice, a child is a blessing type of thing. And yeah, I spent like, I think immediately after finding out, I told my best friend, who's in another country. And yeah, and then I think either the same day in the evening or the next day, then I spoke to the father, and yeah, I gave him a phone call, and I just simply, said, hey, I'm pregnant. And yeah, and he was okay with it. And he said that he would support me. Physical changes. Okay, other than the fact that I was feeling sick, like feverish, I started to get nauseous almost immediately after finding out, because suddenly it all made sense, when your mind already catches up, then the body follows. So like just shivers, like the first 3 months was just a lot of, feeling icky and nauseous and just shivering, but not necessarily having a fever. And well, my skin started to glow. I had really nice skin, definitely in the beginning, and my boobs got bigger. Yeah, that was the best part. That was the fun part before I started to show. So yeah. So other than increasing my bust size, I slowly then started to get rounder in other places. I had bigger hips, and then slowly I started to show. It kind of took a while. Like I only started to show properly on like the fourth month. But I wasn't necessarily big. Like from the side, from the back, you wouldn't tell that I was a pregnant woman until you look at me from the front. So I was still generally like a small person, but like with a belly. And yeah, stretch marks, yeah, a lot of other things that I had never experienced before, like, my fellow women my age who of a different size who had, because I've always been small and hadn't really experienced stretch marks before, and so for the first time now I was getting them. So it was different, of course, but it's not necessarily something that I disliked. So yeah. Actually, no. It was just generally a very smooth pregnancy. The nausea wasn't bad. Like, of course, I wasn't able to eat properly. I didn't have an appetite, and I couldn't even drink water the first 3 to 4 months. But then after a while, my appetite came back, and the pregnancy itself was fine. I was told everything was normal, except maybe towards the end, like, yeah, like I wasn't progressing quick enough. Like, the baby hadn't turned yet in the first 3 weeks. When she eventually did turn, it was closer to the end, and yeah. So I ended up having, like, it ended up not being a natural birth as expected because my contractions were not strong enough. So I ended up having to have a C-section. So yeah, maybe the complication was only like towards the end. Yeah. Okay, so I was definitely very emotional at that time because it was a rough situation. Given that, okay, disclaimer, I was not with the father, he was married. So that definitely did take a toll on me, and it hurt my self-esteem. I felt like, I don't know, like a pariah of sorts. Yeah, I was super angry, super sad. I don't want to say depressed, that's a very strong word, but it definitely was not easy on me. I definitely, looking back, I do wish I could go back and just let that go, and just try to be as happy as possible throughout the situation. Yeah. My biggest fear was, number one, telling my parents, and my concern, my place at work, because I wasn't sure, because I wasn't an official employee. I didn't have a long-term contract yet, so I thought that would be a deal breaker. And I wasn't sure, okay, how would this change me? How would I be able to like go to work every day? And I'm already feeling so exhausted, so tired. What about when the pregnancy progresses? But I don't know, it ended up going pretty well. I just ripped the band-aid off. Actually, it took a while, like I had said. I eventually told my parents a month after I found out. So when I found out, I was 6 weeks in. So yeah, at around 12 weeks is when I told my parents, and maybe my mom was calm about it. She ended up telling my dad. Maybe there was some back and forth, but they responded very positively. So yeah, so at the end of it, whatever I was worried about wasn't that bad. So yeah. I loved when I would feel her kick, and when I would eat certain things or drink certain things, that's when she would move, and yeah, that was really exciting. I remember the first time I felt the kicks. It was actually super early on, but I just knew that it wasn't, just anything or like a jitters or anything like that. It was actually, they call it flutter kicks in the beginning because the baby's still very small. But you can feel their movements. So like, yeah, I think I enjoyed that, and just the aspect of being big and actually like being pregnant, and the thought of there's something growing inside me is very exciting. So yeah. Okay, so upon finding out, I was told that I need to start clinic as soon as possible. So I think the following week or the 10 days after, I went for my first checkup and my first scan. I found out that everything is fine. Then, I started going to clinic regularly. I started taking my meds. And I just tried to make sure that I eat a balanced diet, that I stayed active. Luckily for me, my job was pretty active. It was a lot of walking back and forth, and I worked in a factory. So, plenty of places to go, lots of exercise to be had. I tried not to stress myself, but that's easier said than done. But certain things that are actually good for me, I wasn't really able to do, or it wasn't easy, like drinking water, which is very important, but I couldn't drink it because of my nausea. Yes. I just continued eating. Of course, in the beginning, my food consumption reduced. But at the end of the day, I just ate whatever I wanted. When my appetite came back, I even ate more than I used to. So I just ate everything. I just made sure that I had foods rich in iron, vitamin C, veggies, livers, what else? Lots of fruit as well. So Okay, so I was lucky that at my workplace I had insurance, which kind of covered everything, and I went to a good hospital. Well, at least it was good then before it shut down. So I think I had more than enough medical support. But I low-key wish I went to a different hospital because my doctor did advise me to go somewhere else, but I didn't. And then what happened was my delivery just was not what I expected. I wanted to have a private room and this and that, and the day that I went into the hospital, all the rooms were booked somehow. And there's nothing wrong with being in a public ward with everyone else, but I wanted that experience for myself. And for whatever reason, the hospital standards had just dropped. The sanitation wasn't as good and whatnot. So I wish I had gone to book myself somewhere else. So towards the end, it was disappointing.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yes. It's okay. It happens. I hope one day when I have another child, I will make a better decision. Well, definitely it was at first very tumultuous, very it was intense. I went through stages of hating him, and we didn't speak sometimes, and it was hard to kind of accept the situation as it was. So you kind of have this back and forth with yourself. You would want a person there in a certain way, but then they can't be there for you the way that you want. So it was hard. But then after a while, it really did take a while. Towards the end of my pregnancy and after the baby was born, I just started to accept that, okay, this is fine. We can just be co-parents, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And and we have a good relationship now. We're very good friends, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I've moved on, and I don't even remember who that person was anymore. My biggest support, my best friend, and all my friends, actually, they know who they are. Plenty of times sending sad voice notes and sitting on certain people's couches crying and complaining and whining and taking naps in the middle of the afternoon. I don't have to name them, but when they see this video, they'll know who they are. So like, yeah, definitely, yeah, my friends were really, really, really good. So financially, I know right away that I need to start saving, and I need to live my life as if I'm alone and not counting on or expecting the father, even though he said that he would be there, but you never know life, you never know these men. So yeah, I started saving, and I had myself a good amount, and I was able to go shopping and, you know, get myself the things that I wanted very early on. And also, actually in the beginning, the first things that I got for my child were not even things that I bought. They were just gifts from friends. And like, even before she was born, she had, you know, a lot of toys and clothes and socks and things like that. So the things that I had to buy were few. So yeah, I'm grateful that, you know, there's people that were there for me. And emotionally and mentally, like, I just had to, number one, do a lot of research on, you know, pregnancy, what exactly is like the birth process and what happens. And yeah, like I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I'm not really much of a reader these days. So yeah, followed a lot of influencers, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Her name is Zipporah, and actually Zipporah is, in the Bible, she was Moses' wife. And to be honest, I don't know why I chose that name. I chose, okay, now number one, it starts with the Z, and I think Z is a very unique letter. I didn't want to choose something basic, but also not too weird like Apple, you know? Of course, it had to have meaning and significance. And I don't know, it just seems like a beautiful name. I met someone called Zipporah many years ago, and I just thought it was a really cool name. And yeah, after a while, also watching the movie is it Prince of Egypt? Prince of Egypt, I really resonated with it. So yeah, so that's Zipporah. Okay, my birth plan. To be honest, I didn't think I had many options, because the hospital that I went to, my doctor said, like, number one, it's always good to do a natural birth, and always like, there's people who choose. Of course, you have the option to choose, but then they kind of sway you into not choosing a C-section, which I totally understand. But then I said, you know, they tell you in advance, like, birth is hard. It's one of the most painful things you'll ever experience. So you kind of need to be prepared emotionally, you know, but you'll be able to handle it. Your body will just do what it does. But then I asked him, okay, what about epidurals? Like, is that something that's an option? And he basically told me that yes, it is, but in Tanzania there hasn't been that much research done, and people are not necessarily comfortable with epidurals here. Like, it's not always successful, and it has risks, so I wouldn't advise you. So I was like, okay. I mean, of course, these conversations were being had like towards the end, the last 1 or 2 months. So I was like, okay, yeah. I was just kind of gearing myself to experience one of the most painful things imaginable. And yeah, but like I said, it didn't really go as planned. My water had broken early in the morning at 4 a.m. That's why I went to the hospital. And I was having mild, I was 3 centimeters dilated, actually 2. And I was having very mild contractions. So I was having pain, like a usual period, maybe a bit more, but not like crazy. Like, to be honest, I didn't feel that much pain contraction-wise. So I got to the hospital, and, you know, they tried to give me, you know, the injections to kind of speed up the process, but it just was not working. They kept me for another 6 to 7 hours, because, you know, once the amniotic sac has ruptured and you're already leaking, the longer you stay, the more like there's a risk of infection. So you only have a certain window to wait. So after checking with me every 2 to 3 hours, they're like, okay, I only dilated up to 3 centimeters. And to be honest, according to them, I couldn't wait any longer, so it would be risky. And my contractions were just not happening. So I had to have a C-section. And to be honest, though I said that my contractions were not that crazy, the labor was not crazy, but the operation is something else. Like they numb you, of course, and you don't really feel anything, but it does feel freaky. But then now, okay, the operation is done, and then you wake up. Now you are hit with the fact that you have just been split open, 7 layers of flesh cut through, and someone stuck their hands into your body to pull out a baby, and they sewed you back up. It's painful. It's one of the most major surgeries you can have. So yeah, the pain, whatever pain I didn't feel during labor, I definitely felt it in the aftermath of the surgery. So like, yeah, that was my birth. It was quite a lot. Not so much, except maybe just the aspect of shame. So I kind of avoided certain like family members and family functions. Yeah, I just didn't want to be around. I didn't want to be seen, and yeah, just not talking about it as much. But otherwise, within my family, internally, with my parents and my siblings, it was okay. Yeah. Okay. Not like, is it societal pressure or I don't know, but like, I was still a young woman, still am, but like still a 23-year-old. I wanted, to go out still. I want to be part of the world. I wanted to, yeah. But then people expect you that when you're pregnant, you should just be at home and come home early and sleep and whatever. So unatoka ovyo, you're going to be a mom or whatever. Not everyone has to see you in your pregnant belly. But I was like, yeah, we out here, I want to have fun, and especially with the situation that I was in was kind of miserable. So I still wanted to be a part of the world. I used to go out still. I do tell people often, like we used to go to Elements with my belly to like Kidimbui. Yeah, I still try to have experiences, though it was kind of frowned upon. But yeah, I kind of just didn't. I just did what I wanted to do. So.
How do you feel about the way pregnancy is portrayed in media?
That's a good one. They do kind of, not necessarily the pregnancy itself, but maybe the afterbirth. Maybe they do hype it quite a bit. Like the whole, when I saw my baby and everything, all the pain was worth it, and it was just the most beautiful thing. It's not necessarily like that. For some people, yes, I've spoken to people and they was like, oh yes, it was just the most engulfing happiness that I've ever experienced. But for me, it didn't really go like that. It was more like my mind had not caught up with whatever had happened. Like, I woke up and number one, yes, I remember that I had a child, and I asked, is she okay? Is everything okay? But I felt pain first. I felt, oh my gosh, what did I just go through? I just woke up, where am I? Like, it was more about getting through whatever I'd gone through, the pain. And like, I only started to remember the motherhood badai, like many hours later, or even the next day. And like, yeah, even just the emotional part, like I had to train myself. Yeah. What surprised me? That, yeah, okay, this is embarrassing, but a apparently you just tend to get yeast infections or vaginal bacterial vaginosis. Do I have to explain the experience? Basically, your coochie just smells like real bad. And it's very uncomfortable. And at first, you don't know what's happening. And especially, okay, if you're somewhere in public and you're in the workplace, yeah, it's really hard to be around people to feel comfortable. And it's already enough that, okay, I work this job in a factory and I'm sweating in, I already smell of sweat, and now like, I just felt icky. So that was definitely an uncomfortable experience. So yeah, I don't know the frequency or how many people will experience that, but it is common. So yeah, just simply because of the hormones. Yeah. Well, to kind of just enjoy yourself, enjoy this phase. Yeah, feel, do what you want to do. I don't know, that's kind of a difficult question. But just be as happy as possible, because it's not easy, and sometimes it can be a miserable experience depending on what you're going through. So yeah, just be positive. Yeah. I'm definitely, I've definitely worked on my selfishness, and it's not selfish in terms of, things or only think about me, but I was really selfish with my time, or how I spent my time, or who and how I socialized with. Like, for example, because of the number of years I've spent away in university, away from home, I was just used to just being in my own world, living in my own box. I lived the way I lived. I went out and came back and forth the way I wanted. I was used to just being in solitude, because I would go to school. I had a very big friend group, a lot of social life. So when I come home, it's just silence, and I liked it that way. But then I came back, and there's always these people that I have to answer to, and my mom, and things like that. Just having dynamics. I didn't know how to sit like in the family room or sit and have dinner at the table anymore. I didn't know how to sit in the living room and watch TV with other people anymore. I would usually, when I came back, I would just go to work, come back home, and just stay in my room, rinse and repeat. I would only socialize outside of my room, very few, maybe to come and get food and stuff. And so now as a mother, I realize that won't do. You can't live like that. This child has to interact. They need to see you interact as well for them to grow and be a normal, upright child. And I also wanted that life, that experience for us. I wanted us to be able to sit on the couch and watch a movie together, and be in the kitchen and make her meals. So that was kind of the beginning of me just, being more out there, being more social. Yeah. Well, just that it was not like all sunshine and rainbows. Maybe I said that already, but and I felt bad for not being sunshine and rainbows. I wanted that, but that wasn't my reality. And there's a lot of bitterness there when you go on social media and you see these happy families, and the woman with her smiling at her belly with their partner, and that wasn't my reality. And so I did feel quite bad about that for a while, but I just kind of got past it, and I realized that I need to create that happiness for myself. I mean, it wasn't all bad. There were some special moments in there too. But I just wish I was definitely more I had embraced that moment more. I wish I could go back and do things differently. Okay, that's hard. Um, but despite everything, the negative side, I was super like super excited. Like there was still a lot of excitement under that. I just wanted to meet her, and I would just, I couldn't wait for her to be here and for us to start our lives together. Yeah. And I was afraid of her in the beginning. More like, yeah, or afraid of disappointing her. Yeah. That it's wild, and it's very unexpected. Like, at least for the women who has a natural birth, they know that they're having a child. Like, you go through the labor, you push, and the baby's out, and you see it, and you get to hold it, and you know that, okay, from now on I'm a mother. But then with a C-section, it's like, literally for me, it was like waking up from a coma and having to catch up, So, and you're like, huh, now I have a child. Motherhood is now, kumbe. So it's like, yeah, out of nowhere, you're kind of just like rushing. So, yeah, you kind of need to prepare for that, depending on whatever type of birth that you have. So, yeah. And, back to the advice that I would give mothers or someone expecting. I've also said this to some of my friends, is that make sure in whatever circumstance you get skin to skin from the beginning. Even if I didn't know that I had that option, even if you have the C-section, sometimes in the beginning they can put the baby on your chest and stuff. No one did that for me, and I didn't know if I could ask for them to put the baby on my chest. First of all, I was in so much pain, and she was quite a big baby. She was quite heavy, even as an infant. So yeah, but I regret not doing that, because that's number one, it's very important for bonding and also for stimulation of like the milk. So yeah, that's one thing. Absolutely, like ask for skin to skin. Yeah.